This week is the HPT's Championship Open. Our biggest event of the year is at the amazing Belterra Casino Resort in Florence, Indiana, right on the border of Kentucky and Ohio. HPT champions from Season 8 with other players from around the area and across the nation have descended on Belterra to win the last event of Season 8 and take home over $100,000. A field of almost 300 is now down to 6. And once again, history is on the line this week as one man is looking to do what no one else has ever done, win 4 events in one season. This is the HPT.
They come from all walks of life, each with a story to tell. All they need is a chip and a chair. It's an open casting call for those who love the game. This ain't your weekend home game. This is the HPT.
Sit right down, put on your poker face. You with the big dogs now. Better bring your best game. Talk trash all you want. To me, it's all the same. You won't leave with much when you come in second place. I'm the one with the stack showing 7 to the jack. Gon' cry to your mama cause I'm sending you back. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. Last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand.
Hello and welcome to the final chapter of Season 8 on the HPT. It's the HPT Championship Open from Belterra Casino Resort in Florence, Indiana. I'm Chris Hansen. By my side, as always, is Fred Bevel. Almost 300 players sat down in our main event, and now we're down to the final 6, and one player does stand out as the man to beat, and that's Greg Fossil Man Raymer.
Greg has won 3 events in Season 8, and this week, Chris, he's playing for his 4th win in one season. The poker world is watching to see if Greg can do what no one else has done.
You win 1, people say congratulations. You win 2, people say wow. After winning 3, people are wondering when your book is coming out. And if Greg can win his 4th this week here at Belterra, people will stop wondering how good he really is. They will know the skills of Greg Raymer.
Winning 4 titles in one season, Chris, is a record that may never be broken. But before we anoint him, he has to win. The other 4 players at this table will not be easy to beat. In fact, before the table started, Greg told me that this might be the hardest final table he's faced yet.
Fred, lots of people make final tables. Not a lot of people win HPT events. There's still 5 other players that have to go down before Greg will be a champion tonight. Let's meet some of the players and then get to our Championship Open final table.
My name is Jason Gwyn. I'm a postman, and I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm ready to have some fun today.
Kenny Hicks. I'm from Huntington, West Virginia, and I play poker professionally.
I'm Jake Baisley. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, and I play poker for a living.
When I bought in, I really didn't expect to get this far, but I'm very excited to be here and hope we make the most of it today. TV's exciting, but I think once we start playing, it'll just be poker and just play your hand one hand at a time. But yeah, it's very different. That's a huge advantage for, I think, Raymer and Baisley. They've both played TV final tables, and I'm not sure the rest of us have. So hopefully we'll be able to adapt and put up a good showing today.
Being a pro poker player, there's so many highs and lows. You know, you can go to work and lose money, which is hard to do in most jobs. But it also allows the flexibility to travel and be your own boss and wake up at noon if you want to. Playing on the TV definitely adds a certain dynamic. People don't want to, get bluffed or make bad folds. It's interesting that people are going to see your cards and know how you play. I've got a specific strategy that I'm going to implement and hopefully it works.
This week, it's been pretty smooth sailing. I've pretty much had the best of it and just held, which is actually very lucky and hard to do a lot, but it's been a lot of hands like that. And I've luckily won 2 flips and lost 1 where I was ahead. But these all-in pots are just so important, and you really can't figure out who's going to win what. It's just completely lucky half the time, so you just got to play your game and hope you have enough chips behind so that you're not the one at risk every time you're going all in.
Not only will you be the champion among champions tonight if you win this final table, tonight $106,000 in cash is on the line for our winner.
And the first person knocked out of this final table still goes home with just under $21,000. And here is how these folks are starting out today. Look at this, a tight race at the second and first spot. 2.420 for Cotton. Bruce just 5,000 chips behind him. The short stack starting off is Greg Raymer with 8% of the chips in play.
Action is going to start on Iverson Cotton Snuffer.
I love this guy.
Okay, we're just going to call him Cotton all night long.
He's my favorite. He peels back ace-queen suited. And he announces a raise.
Iverson not aware that we do have drink holders provided for the players underneath the table.
We'll correct that soon. Action moves over to Greg Raymer. He's got ace-deuce suited.
Greg Raymer, arguably one of the most impressive feats of the year, going for his 4th HPT title here in Season 8 of the HPT.
And we're starting off with fireworks. Raymer re-raises it to $600,000. Action moves over to Jason. He folds.
Ken folds. And now to Jacob. Jake looks down at Jack 5. He will fold. This is our first look at Bruce Ostrander from Collierville, Tennessee. And he will fold, and now it's back to Cotton.
And Cotton is going to call Greg's raise, and uh-oh, Chris, he's turned over his hand. And we're going to call in Tournament Director Extraordinaire Dave Lamb.
Does that make sense, Dave?
He flipped him over. We're not all in. We're not.
Cotton obviously thinking that Greg was all in at that point.
Turned over his hand thinking he was all in, but Raymer still has chips behind.
Chips remaining and the player exposed his hand with action pending. Win, lose, or draw, whatever the outcome is, you'll have to take a penalty of 1 round for exposing your hand on this. In this case, it's 6 players. We'll set out 6 hands at the end of the hand. However, the hand is live, and we still continue the remaining of the chips.
Well, and there is the word from Tournament Director Dave Lamb. The hand will continue to play, but immediately after this hand, Cotton is going to have to sit out an orbit or 6 hands.
Well, if you're Greg Raymer, you love this position. You're going to get away from this hand. You don't have to put any more chips in.
Well, he's going to see a flop anyway. He knows what his opponent's holding, and he knows he's behind. Cotton has no idea what Greg is holding.
Here's the flop. It's 10, deuce, 10.
And Raymer announces it. He hit his 3-outer. He puts his last chips in the middle, and just like that, Cotton is looking for one of the 3 remaining queens, or he's going to double up the world champ.
35,000 was all the chips that Greg had left behind. Now, is that a mistake that Greg Raymer made, or did he do that intentionally?
Well, I don't think Greg did it intentionally at all. I think it just Cotton thought he was all in. That's why he tabled the hand.
The turn is a jack of hearts, and Raymer's in a great spot here to double up.
Well, the turn card helped Cotton. Now he's got some more outs. He's going to be looking for one of the last 3 queens or a king to hit the river.
And the river is a tray, and so Greg Raymer, on the very first hand of this final table, will double up. And for the first time ever in HPT history, we actually have a player who's gotten a penalty at our final table. So Cotton will be asked to leave the tournament area for 6 hands, and so seat 5 will be empty for the time being. On to the next hand. Bruce looks down at Queen 7. That gets folded over to Greg.
Ace 3 offsuit this time for Greg. And I wonder if these players will take advantage of the next 6 hands only being 5-handed. Greg is going to raise it up to $105,000.
Over to Jason. He will fold. And now to Ken from Huntington, West Virginia.
Ken peels back Ace 6 offsuits.
25-year-old poker pro is all in. So Ken's all in with Ace 6. Action is quickly coming back around to Greg.
Well, Ace 3, not a hand Greg's probably going to call someone's all in with. And sure enough, he is going to lay it down, and Ken not messing around. 2 hands, 2 all ins.
Plenty of action so far at this final table. Thanks for coming back to the HPT Championship Open. Let's meet the rest of this talented final table.
I'm Bruce Ostrander from Collierville, Tennessee, and I'm a business owner.
My name is Cotton Snuffer, and I own a business called Leisure World, and I'm from Milton, West Virginia.
I'm Greg Fossilman Raymer from Raleigh, North Carolina, and I'm a professional poker player.
I love the structure of the HPT tournament where you have the qualifiers. You don't necessarily have to buy in for the full main event buy-in amount to get in the event. They have a good structure, and allowing 20% of the field to make it through the qualifiers is great. Yeah, I started day 2. I think it's the 3rd lowest stack with 24,900, and I feel good about the fact that I obviously went through an amazing run during day 2 to become the chip leader, but did it with, I think I was only behind in one hand when I was all in.
I've got a son, Eric, who's 35, who actually gave me a kidney. I had a kidney transplant. My daughter Erica is 34, and she's the one that plays poker. My wife is Jamie, who has been the main blessing in my life. And then I have 2 stepchildren, Spencer and Parker, ages 12 and 10. And like I said, I have 5 grandchildren, so I'm very blessed in that respect.
Well, I mean, number 4 would mean a lot. It's already very special to have won 3. And to make another final table is, something I really wasn't thinking about. My wife had to make me pack this shirt, just in case. And, so it's like I've already got kind of the history books locked up. 3 titles in 1 year, 3 titles in a career on the HPT is the record. So 4 would just put an even bigger exclamation point at the end of it. Right now, I'm your player of the year. I have the most cash won this year on the HPT. If I win today, then I become the career money leader on the HPT, all in 4 events.
Here's the updated chip counts. As you can see, 5 players now are over $1 million in chips. Jason with 725,000 is the only one without $1 million. And the big story is, Fred, one hand played for Greg Raymer, and he got that double up.
Greg just under $1.5 million after that double up as the action continues, and Cotton is back in the 5 seed after serving his 1 orbit penalty.
Blinds remain at 25 and 50,000 with a 5K ante. And Raymer starts this hand with Ace-King.
Raymer wakes up with the best drawing hand in poker, and of course he's going to raise it, makes it 105,000 straight. Jason's going to fold over to Ken. Ken is a professional poker player from Huntington, West Virginia.
And he is going to move all in versus Greg Raymer again. Jake folds over to Bruce with King 4. He will fold. Cotton folds back to Greg, and this time Raymer will call Ken's all in. Last time it would have been Ace-3 versus Ace-6. Greg Raymer in a much better spot now with Ace-King versus Ace-Queen.
Ken is crushed going into the flop. He's going to need to find some hearts or a queen.
Ken's tournament life is on the line. Will we continue on with 6 players after Ken doubles up, or are we going to be down to 5-handed poker? Let's find out. Here comes the flop. It is 9-8 Jack.
Well, Ken's picked up some outs. He's now got a gut shot straight draw. He'll be hoping for a 10 to fill that in. Otherwise, a queen is going to be his miracle card he needs to hit. No hearts on this flop, so the flush is out of the question.
Here comes the turn. It's a deuce. And so now Ken Hicks, the 25-year-old poker pro, is down to the river for his tournament life. It's a 5 of hearts, and we will say goodbye to Ken. And how about Greg Raymer? Early action from the world champ, going for his 4th HPT title this season, and he's already eliminated 1 player here tonight on the HPT.
We didn't get to know Ken very well at this final table, but trust me, he's a great guy. Let's hear what he has to say about this play.
Devastated. I wanted to win this thing, not get 6th place, be the first out. I'd say the best player left's probably Jake Baisley. I'm hoping he wins, but it's anybody's game, really. The stacks are so shallow and it's so quick. Anyone can win, really.
Blinds again at 25 and 50,000 with the 5K ante. And how about Greg Raymer? Started this final table with less than $1 million in chips, Fred, and now he's pushing $2.5 million chips.
He got lucky by hitting the 3 outer on the first hand and then now eliminates a player. Greg on a quest for doing something no one has ever done on the HPT. That's win 4 events, and he could do it all in 1 season.
When you said something that's never been done on the HPT, I thought maybe you meant that he was going to get you to turn down a free meal.
That will never happen.
Action is on Cotton in the small blind. He raises to 115,000 with Queen 6 offsuit.
And Greg Raymer definitely going to see a flop with a wired pair here. He wakes up with pocket 3s.
We're blind versus blind in this hand. On go the Fossil Man glasses. It's hard to argue what made Greg more famous, the glasses, the fossil, or the fact that he won $5 million at the World Series of Poker. The flop is 4-3 king, and when you're running good, Fred, you're just running good.
Greg hits a set on this flop. Luckily for Cotton, he has hit nothing.
That's not going to stop Cotton playing out of the small blind.
Cotton is going to lead out and try to steal this pot. Bets $140,000.
I think a raise is coming from Greg Raymer. Although if he puts Cotton on that king, and only the king, he might just flat here to see what he does on the turn. Personally, I would raise.
And he is going to raise, makes it 300 straight. 160 more for Cotton to continue in the hand.
A little over a min raise from the world champ.
And you know, when you're looking at queen high with a bad kicker and he absolutely aired the flop, I don't see any reason to make this call. And Cotton is going to lay it down. And unfortunate for Greg, he couldn't get more value out of that set, but geez Louise, talk about running good.
And he shows the flop set, and Cotton said, you know what, you are done getting chips for me, Mr. Raymer. I've given you all that I'm going to give you, hopefully at this final table. We continue on with Bruce. First act, he will fold back to Cotton.
This time Cotton has queen jack offsuit.
Cotton is from Charleston, West Virginia. He's a 58-year-old business owner.
He's just going to limp in.
Cotton owns Leisure World, which I remember as a kid, my mom and dad would take me down to Leisure World, and we'd shop there for, I have no idea what Leisure World is in Charleston, West Virginia.
Well, Greg is going to flat call the limp with ace-3, and of course that's going to cause an avalanche of limpers. The small blind completes with 8-6, and now we're onto the big blind. He's got the option to raise it up or just see a free flop.
Jake is 29 years old, from Cincinnati, Ohio, professional poker player, playing in his third HPT event. This will be his first cash.
He claims $1 million in career winnings, which is almost what I've got.
And the flop is 5, queen, 7. So we will start with Jason.
And Jason chooses to go all in with an open-ended straight draw. I don't mind this play at all, actually. Puts the pressure on the others. Unfortunately, 2 players here have hit top pair.
Jason is the short stack at the final table. It's 605,000 chips to make this call. The question here is, will Jacob say, I call, or will Cotton get the opportunity to try to knock him out?
Well, this is one of the hazards of a 4-way limped pot, is no one has any information on what someone might have. There could be a raggedy 2 pair here with a small blind.
And now Jacob goes all in to offer some protection to Jason. Cotton folds. Raymer will fold. And so Jason will be all in for his tournament life versus Jacob. Jason Gwyn is from Nashville, Tennessee, a 42-year-old postman. And he's going to hope that this turn of river delivers him a 4 or a 9. The turn is an ace.
And that is a miss for Jason. A 4 or a 9 are the only cards in the deck that'll save his tournament.
Let's go ahead and see the river card.
And the river is another queen. And that will be another elimination from this final table. We're going to say goodbye to Jason Gwyn in 5th place.
Jason's a postman of 15 years. Thanks for bringing the mail, my friend. Let's hear what he has to say about today's final table.
I'm a little disappointed, but I didn't have a lot of cards to work with today, and picked up a good draw. He made a real good call with his queen jack, and it was still a lot of fun, and happy to go home with $25,000. So.
More poker from our final table when we come back.
It would be to win $106,000 would be incredible. Pay off my house, and it'd really be life-changing money. So I'm very excited to have the chance today.
Winning this tournament would really help me a lot. I've been wanting a big title for a while now. I've had a lot of seconds and big tournaments, and just really want that first place title more than the money, to be honest.
Well, the $106,000 for me would probably just seed me to play in some more higher level poker tournaments.
And Fred, a lot of movement here in the chip stacks.
Well, you know, the story for me is Cotton Iverson started this final table as the chip leader. He's been on a downward spiral ever since, sitting now with just 16% of the chips in play at $1.3 million. Mr. Greg Raymer is the chip leader with almost $2.8 million.
Cotton sat down with 2.4 million. So, Fred, he's lost over $1 million in chips since we started this final table.
Blind still at 25 and 50,000 with a 5K ante. Cotton folds over to Greg. 4 deuce goes into the muck.
Back over to Jacob. Are you on Team Jacob or Team Raymer?
Well, it's hard to root against history. Winning 4 events in one season would be pretty cool. Although Jake is a nice kid. I would love to see him win as well. He's from Cincinnati, Ohio, a pro poker player. This is Bruce, business owner. Career winnings of 75,000. He's played the HPT before in Michigan and in Colorado and in St. Louis.
This is also his first cash on the HPT. Here's the flop. It's ace 6-5 with 2 spades. Open-ended straight draw for Jacob. It looks like he's ready to bet it.
And Jacob is going to semi-bluff his draw. Makes it 105,000 to go. And over to Bruce with nothing but 10 high and good-looking shirt.
And it must have been the good-looking shirt that makes him call Jacob's bet.
Well, Bruce has a gut shot straight draw. He'll be hoping for a 7 here.
And the turn is a king of clubs. Jacob first acts.
Well, Bruce floated the flop, and Jacob has checked the turn. Let's see if Bruce sees that opening and tries to bet here and take the pot down with just 10 high. No other reason to flat call on the flop than to bet here on the turn.
Just under 500,000 chips in the pot right now, and here comes the bet from Bruce. The bet is 230,000.
And he is going to get the pro player to lay down the draw, and look at that. You float the flop, you pounce the turn, you scoop the pot.
Never works for me that way.
No,
absolutely not. Or usually how that hand plays out for me is I call the turn and then I miss the river, but then I bet it like I hit it anyway. And next thing you know, I'm standing in the line for to get a hot dog. That's how my day goes.
Well, it's because whenever anybody calls you, they always give the "I want that HPT money" speech.
Oh, yeah, because it tastes different than the other money. All right, Jacob's raising here with King 7 offsuit. He makes it 100K. Bruce gets out of the way. Back to Cotton with Ace 5 offsuit. And Cotton calls. And so we'll be heads up with Jacob and Cotton. Flops deuce 3-7.
Well, Jacob has hit this flop. He's got top pair with a 7.
Cotton checks over to Jacob.
Cotton has a gut shot straight draw. Jacob makes it 105,000 to go, and that doesn't scare Cotton too much. He's going to make the call.
Remind me to ask him how he goes from Iverson to Cotton for his nickname. Iverson, his given first name, goes by Cotton. The turn is another 7.
Well, Jacob now has trip 7s, and oh, geez, you just see Cotton staging the chips. It's not good timing for Cotton.
165,000 is the bet. Action is back to Jacob. And the 29-year-old pro from Cincinnati, I would assume is going to just flat call here.
And you would assume, right, a flat call is what Jacob does. And he's going to try to string Cotton along for another street here.
And here comes the river. It's a 10. See if Cotton slows her down. Well, he continues to give chips away. Here comes a big bet, 225,000 chips. Now back to Jacob.
Trying to pull a stone cold bluff out of position on a paired board, not something I'd recommend. Obviously, Jake is going to raise here. He's got to believe Cotton has a piece of this that he likes.
Jacob is all in. Just over 1 million chips would be the call from Cotton with absolutely nothing. No reason for him to call. He will fold. And Cotton has just made a mess of this final table since we have sat down. If there was a player who'd want to just start the whole thing over, for sure it is Cotton. Doubles up Greg Raymer on the very first hand, gets the first ever penalty on the HPT, and Fred has just been spewing chips ever since.
Cotton is going to need to get the momentum back on his side, or it's going to be a short day. Jacob wakes up with wire nines and raises it to 100,000.
Jacob all of a sudden looks like the most active player at this final table.
Bruce folds. Now we're back to Cotton with ace-7 suited. He's going to make the call.
These are the kind of hands you will get yourself in trouble with. Ace-5 previously, now ace-7.
And Greg Raymer in the big blind elects to not play. So once again, Jacob and Cotton dueling in this hand.
Oh yeah, Jacob can definitely smell the blood in the water checking out Cotton's stack, which Fred started with over 2.4 million in chips, now is down under $1 million. Here comes the flop. It's 10, deuce, ace. Okay, Cotton hits it this time.
Cotton is out flopped, hit the ace, and he's going to check it over to Jacob. And Jacob is going to lead out, makes it 105,000. See if Cotton pulls the check raise here or if he's going to just flat call. He chooses to just flat call.
Heads up with Cotton and Jacob as we go to the turn. Cotton will be first to act. The turn is a queen of diamonds.
Cotton still has the best hand, and he's going to continue to check over to the young pro. And Jacob slows it down.
You will see a free river. And here we go. The river is a 6 of hearts. Cotton first, and he will check.
Cotton refuses to bet his hand, and Jake's not going to put any more money into this. He's been called once. He's not going to do it again. And they're going to turn over the hands, and Jacob's going to see, yeah, he was playing a weak ace, and that's good enough. 480,000 in chips going back to Cotton. He's going to need to do a lot better than that.
More poker. Come right back. Thanks for coming back to the HPT Championship Open with Fred Bevel. I'm Chris Hansen, and it's time to make our games a little bit better with a guy who's a lot better than us. It's time for our Pro Tip of the Week with Phil Hellmuth. Tonight, Phil's going to discuss how you should react and play against an aggressive player.
In my book, Play Poker Like the Pros, a New York Times bestseller. Ooh, thank you, thank you. I talk about a particular personality type at the table, a jackal, someone who's super aggressive. How do you play against a super aggressive player in No Limit Hold'em? They're doing a lot of raising, so there's really only 2 things you can do. 1, you can trap them. 2, you can re-raise them. But make sure you re-raise them enough. If they're raising every hand, then they're used to calling re-raises. So say they come in for 4,000 to go. You could call the 4 and raise 10,000. Make it so that it's not worth it for them to call a re-raise with ace-7 or the 10-7 suited or whatever garbanzo beans the jackal happens to have in his hand. So 2 ways to play him. 1, trap him. 2, re-raise, but make sure your re-raises are big because he's likely to call a re-raise. Of course, I love trapping a jackal and just showing them big hand at the end for all the chips. They beat me all day long, but bing, bang, boom. They're in the taxi on the way home. I wonder, what did they say to themselves?
Great way for you to strengthen your game by watching the HPT and taking advantage of the free tips from Phil Hellmuth. I found out he only gives you the first one for free. After that, they get pretty pricey.
Greg Raymer is the chip leader with just under 2.8 million in chips. The short stack is Cotton Iverson at under $1 million, 850,000. Still has 17 big blinds, though. No reason to freak out. Blinds continue at 25 and 50,000 with a 5,000 chip ante, and it's Jake raising it up with 10 jack offsuit.
Jake says he wants the title more than he wants the money. Everyone always circles the year-end HPT Championship Open on their poker calendar. The champs from Season 8 get together here at the Championship Open and put it all on the line for the final time in Season 8 on the HPT.
Bruce is going to flat call here with King-Queen, and now it's Cotton with 10-Queen. He's going to lay it down over to Greg Raymer, going for his 4th HPT Championship.
Greg Raymer already has matched Jeremy Dresch from Minnesota, the only other player to win 3 events on the HPT.
Greg calls from the big blind with ace-5.
And here's the flop. It's 4-8-7 rainbow.
Well, no player pairs this flop, but both Greg and Jake pick up gut shot straight draws. And Jake was the pre-flop raiser, so it looks like he's going to continuation bet here, and he does. Makes it 145,000 to go.
Over to Bruce. King-Queen offsuit to the muck, and now back to Greg.
And Greg sitting with ace-high and a gutter ball. He elects to put up the white flag on this hand and give the pot to Jake, and it's $490,000 in chips going into Jake's stack.
You might notice Greg Raymer wearing the same green shirt he has wore at every final table on the HPT. So far, that shirt is 3 for 3 at final tables with Greg Raymer.
If he wins tonight, we're going to have to take that shirt and frame it, put it in the Smithsonian or something.
I wonder if he washes the shirt.
Let's assume he does, just for everybody's sake. This time, Greg peels back 6-4 suited.
I mean, all the patches are in the same place. It's still got the press mark on the sleeve. I don't know.
Greg makes the call. And look at this. Jake wakes up with wired ladies. Pocket queens, merit to raise, and that's what Jake is going to do. Makes it $125,000 to go.
Back to the fossil man.
The two chip leaders here dueling it out in 2 consecutive hands. Greg is going to call and see a flop here with his baby gap connectors.
And here's the flop. It is 7 ace 4.
Well, Greg has paired this board, but Jake still has the big hand with the pocket queens. That ace might slow him down a bit, and it looks like it does. They both check.
So here comes the turn. It's another 4, and a terrible check from Jacob has got him into all kinds of trouble.
Greg continues to check, and Jake wisely checks here as well. That ace is an action killer.
And here comes the river. It is a 10. And I would think that Raymer's going to bet here on the river.
It's going to throw out a little tickle bet, I think, just to get some action going.
Just can't wait your opponent out. Sooner or later, you got to put some chips in the middle. $175,000 is the bet.
And that's a good bet. No way Jacob's going to lay down queens there. And Greg got probably just about as much as he's going to get. If that flop comes 10 high, you might have crippled Jake.
I think if Greg would have bet the turn when the second 4 came, I think he might have also gotten paid there. I don't know if he would have got paid on the river, so you're right. About the most money he probably could have hoped to get out of Jacob.
Blind still at 25 and 50,000 with a 5,000 chip ante. And look at this. Cotton wakes up with ace-king. And he is going to do what you should do with ace-king. He's going to raise it up. Makes it $145,000 to go.
Cotton has a book coming out. Can't wait to read that, if I knew how. Cotton likes fishing. He's a family man. He has 4 kids, 5 grandchildren.
One of the more colorful players we've seen on the HBT. Cotton makes it $145 to go. Greg folds. We just saw Jake lay down wired 4s, and here's Bruce with pocket 10s.
Bruce has his girlfriend in the audience watching him play at this final table.
And Bruce is going to go all in with his pocket 10s, and Cotton quickly makes the call. His tournament life now on the line with the best drawing hand in poker. Here we go, Chris. Once the chip leader on a downward spiral ever since. I don't think he's won a single pot at this final table yet. This would be a good time to do it.
He's too many chips. When I don't know what to do, I fold. You know, it's just not that's my go-to.
All right, so Cotton trying to stay at this final table a little bit longer.
All right, the 10s of Bruce. So
he needs to hit this ace-king desperately. Here comes the flop. The flop is 10, deuce, 7, a set of 10s for Bruce, as Cotton nearly drawing dead.
Unfortunate for Cotton. He's going to hope for running straight cards here to suck out.
Needs to go perfect with a queen and a jack on the turn and river. Here comes the turn. It's another 7, and that's going to do it. Iverson, Cotton, Snuffer. Cotton is going to be leading us with just under $33,000. And boy, I'm thinking of the song, I Had a Bad Day. Definitely describes Cotton's play at our final table.
It's really disappointing. Very first hand, I went in with ace-queen against ace-deuce and lost that, as well as getting a penalty for a round for exposing my cards too soon because I thought he was all in. And then I was in a typical race at the end, ace-king against 10s, and a 10 came. So pretty down about it. With the money I won, I might buy my wife a new car.
We will come back three-handed from our final table when we return. Thanks for coming back to the HPT Championship Open from Belterra Casino Resort in Florence, Indiana. Let's take a look at the updated chip count as we're now three-handed.
Bruce is the man right now with over 3 million in chips. Greg Raymer not far behind with just under 3 million. Jake is the short stack, but not so short. He's got almost 2.1 million.
Plenty of chips in the stacks as we get back to our final table, and action will start with Jacob on the button.
Blinds are still at 25 and 50,000 with a 5,000 chip ante, and the button's going to lay it down.
Back to Bruce.
Bruce peels back 9 Jack, affectionately known as the Hanson. If you've never played cash poker with my good friend Chris Hansen, then you've never cracked him with Jack 9.
And when you've seen a flop come Jack, Jack 9, and a smile comes on my face as big as a map, well, then you know I probably hit it.
Well, Bruce is just going to limp from the small blind. Greg checks his options, so we're blind versus blind going to the flop.
And here is the flop. It is Jack 3-8, and Jack 9 has been outflopped by Greg Raymer's Jack 10. There is nothing fair in this world.
Both players hit top pair. Greg's got him out, kicked, and crushed. And on a rainbow flop, no need to raise. He is just going to make the flat call.
And the turn is a 3 of hearts. Bruce is going to stop the action and check.
Greg still with the best hand, but that paired board creates some chop outs now.
It looks like Raymer will not be checking. He's going to bet 150,000. Bruce wants to see the river. He's got a pony up 150K.
And Bruce isn't just going to call. He is check raising Greg Raymer.
Well, then, maybe he is playing Jack 9 the way I would. Of course, he's not crying yet. That's usually how that hand works for me when I play it.
Well, he is going to make it 375,000 to go. Another 225,000 for Greg to call. And look at that. He didn't even think about it. He's put those chips right in the middle.
Here comes our villain calling. Thanks, Greg. You're ruining Jack 9 for all of us. All right, so a big pot now, over 1 million in chips. As we see the river, it is a 4. And let's see what Bruce does here on the river.
Well, Greg has the best hand unless Bruce can somehow push him off. And 450,000 is not going to do it when the pot's already at 1 million. Greg will call that all day, twice on Sundays. And Greg does make the call. They're both going to turn over their hands, and womp, womp, womp for Bruce.
You see this? This is a real tear. I haven't been cutting onions. This is a real tear coming from my tear duct for Bruce and his Jack 9. It's not fair what you're doing to this table, Greg Raymer. It's not fair what you're doing to the entire HPT, Greg Raymer.
He gets emotional when Jack 9 loses, my friends.
Okay, blinds have gone up. We are at 30 and 60,000 with a 5K ante as I compose myself. Fred, tell them a story.
All right. Well, Bruce is on the button here, and it looks like he is going to do what you should do on the button. He's going to raise it up. Makes it 125,000 to go with King 9. Action now on the world champ and 3-time HPT champion, Greg Raymer. He's going to fold. You done yet? Are you back?
Okay, I'm back.
All right. Good to see you again.
And now Jacob out of the big blind. He's got a baby ace, which he will make the call with. So ace 5 goes up against King 9. As Jake and Bruce see this flop together. Third place tonight on the HPT, just over 38,000, going for a championship of over 100,000. Flop is 3-7-4 with 2 clubs.
No help to either of these players. Jake has picked up a gut shot straight draw. Bruce has absolutely nothing but king high. Jake, as we've seen Jake do, is going to lead out on the flop. He makes it 140,000 to go. Just fold, Bruce. Just lay it down, buddy. There you go. Bruce is going to lay it down. Trying to get lucky. Didn't happen. He got away from it cheaply.
You can actually feel some of the tension in the room here as everyone knows what's on the line. Yes, a lot of money, but Greg Raymer trying to win this 4th HPT event of the season, and the poker world has taken notice of such.
And look at this. Greg wakes up with your hand, Mr. Hanson, Jack 9, and he's going to raise it to 125,000. And for the love of everything that is holy, I hope Greg wins this hand or you just might lose it.
Pocket queens this time for Bruce.
And he is going to raise it up. $230,000 in the pot now. And Bruce is going to make it $325,000. Another $200 for Greg to see a flop with Jack 9.
Well, I played Jack 9 terribly as an amateur. Let's see what Greg Raymer does with Jack 9 as a professional.
He is going to fold.
I disagree. I really just don't like the lay down. Of course, I like the lay down.
Well, you don't like the lay down, but it was the right play.
All right, more poker when we come back to our final table here on the HPT. Thanks for coming back to the HPT. This is the HPT Championship Open. Look at the updated chip count. Greg Raymer is over 3 million in chips with 3.29. Right behind him is Bruce and then Jacob. As you can see, lots of play still available. Plenty of big blinds going in all three of these players' stacks.
Sure, even the short stack still has 40 big blinds in his stack. No reason to panic at all.
30 and 60,000 with a 5K ante are the blinds. And action starts with Greg Fossilman Raymer. Hard to believe it's been almost a decade since Fossilman has won his World Series of Poker championship.
More impressive than winning a decade ago is staying relevant throughout the entire decade he's been in the game, and he's completely reinventing himself here as he goes for his 4th HPT championship in one season. And the poker world definitely has taken notice.
Well, Bruce is going to call out of the big blind with his king-queen to Greg's raise with 5-7 offsuit. So we will see a flop. And here it comes. The flop is king, queen, 9.
Great flop for Bruce. He's hit top 2 pair. Greg has absolutely nothing here. Bruce is going to check since Greg was the pre-flop raiser, and Mr. Raymer is going to do what most people do when they raise pre-flop, is they're going to continuation bet on the flop. He makes it $130,000 to go.
So back to Bruce. Nice and easy, Bruce. You don't want to ruffle too many feathers. You don't want to look in the oven while the pie is cooking.
It's almost like hunting deer. You don't want to make too much noise to scare them off.
Just sit there, just softly put the chips into the... Okay, now he's scared everybody away. He's going to raise.
He just threw a big old boulder in the water to get rid of all the fish.
Well, he's hoping that Greg has any piece of this flop. Any piece will do for Bruce.
Well, if you flop top 2 pair, it's hard to put your opponent on one of the other big cards. And unfortunately, he didn't get the value he could have gotten out of this hand, and Greg is going to make the fold. And hey, well, you know, no matter what happens, Bruce can say he won a raise pot off of Greg Raymer.
Bruce Ostranzer from Collierville, Tennessee, originally from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
This time action starts with Jake, the young poker pro. Raises it up with queen 9. Over to Bruce. He's got ace 8 this time.
I was thirsty.
Okay, the raise was to 125 by the receipt. And Bruce is going to fold out of the small blind. Now over to Raymer. And the fossil man, Greg Raymer, looks down at 6-4 offsuit. In go the chips. On go the glasses. What comes next? Hand over the mouth.
Yep, and a really, really intimidating stare down.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, there it is.
And then the flop will come 6-6-4.
Here comes the flop. It is queen 3-6. So Raymer does catch a piece.
Raymer's hit the pair, but so is Jake. Jake hits top pair with the queens. And Greg is going to check over to the young pro, Jake. Jake bets.
And Greg will make the call. Now, I know Greg always respects every player that he's at the table with. Anything can happen when you're sitting around a poker table. But he definitely knows that Jake is a professional player, that he's got the skill, that he's got the chops. Maybe a little bit more than what your everyday amateur you're going to find has.
One of the strengths to Greg Raymer's game is he never underestimates anybody.
He checks here, and now Jacob's betting $275,000 on the turn. And that will do it for Greg.
Greg has seen enough. He's going to lay it down, and Jacob continues to stack the chips, this time almost $1 million in chips.
Well, it's not a very big stretch to say that Greg Raymer has been the focus of this final table thus far, but Fred, now he has to finish next time on the HPT. Come back to find out if he is our first 4-time HPT champion. And I think you've got what it takes to come and sit at the table and win the unreal cash? Well, then log on to HPT Poker to find out about our upcoming events that anyone can play in and win. For James Larson and Fred Bevel, I'm Chris Hansen. We'll see you next time right here on the HPT.
Oh, and I can wait you out, but I'll take you down. And I'm the one with the stack showing 7 to the jack on Friday, oh mama, cause I'm sending you back. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. Last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand.